Hiya, and welcome back to Password, the game that teaches us that we think it crossed the last line, we can cross the final line, and then the game just goes and says, "Wanna see me do it again?" This game... Clearly, there's a line, and clearly this game has crossed it, and we're just going to keep going for a little bit, see where we end up. Anyways, let's just hop right in. Path... right here. Morning. I hadn't seen him standing there, watching me from somewhere off to the side. Not that I'd known where he'd come from, but I warily raised a hand in a half-hearted wave. Couldn't sleep? Something like that. Hardly surprising. Did you want to join me outside? Sure, I wanted to check in on Sal at some point anyway. Really now? Right, I don't know what to think still, but what happened couldn't have been because of the Sal I knew. Right? It's hard to say. I have some questions for him myself, something that's been bothering me for a while now. And before you ask, I'll tell you in due time. I just needed more data. The pair of us went out into the backyard and I breathed in deep through my nose. The air was crisp, clean, and a little cold. Yeah, there's a Discord server and you can join it. Oswin stepped up to me, looking out at the world much like I was. It's a shame, isn't it? What is? That the world seems to keep moving like this after a tragedy. That it doesn't wait for anyone. That you're forced to watch the world go by as you grieve, cope, and before you know it, your life is taken up by wondering what if. Why are you telling me this? When Sal went on his little massacre, the world gave none of us a moment to think. It allowed none of us to process what was happening, and even now what has happened. I hung my head as he talked. The thought of what had happened running in through my mind, right down to Roswell reaching out for me before he died. For now, we have a moment to breathe, and we need to cherish it, Dave. We must, for if we don't, we're going to be consumed by our base instincts. I would prepare for things to get worse before they get better. Hiya. I will never be happy with my microphone placement. I will never be happy with it. There we go. I grumbled as Osmond wandered off, and I followed close behind. He stopped short of the gate, looking into the pool area. Why did we stop? It seems as though I was mistaken. See for yourself. Wandered into the pool area, looking around for Sal. The pool was clear, the place was quiet, and there he was, sitting quietly off to the side. Sal! Maybe it was how Osmond had put me in a downer mood that made me wonder if we were about to see Sal dead too. I rushed over, stopping short of him with the first genuine smile I'd worn in a couple days. Right behind me was Osmond, wandering over lazily with his hands in the pockets of his lab coat. Are you well? Cold, but I suppose so. Sal shifted uncomfortably as Oswin got close, examining him. It's a good thing Dave brought you the blankets last night. Storm going on, you could have ended up much worse than just having a cold. I have a cold? The start of one at least, but it's nothing I can't treat to bolster your immune system, however. You aren't going to heal him? Oswin scratched his chin, mulling it over. I will, yes, but I'm not taking chances. Remember how I said I needed more data? This is the data I was after. Me? I'm the data? Do you consent to me taking a blood sample to run some tests? This is to get medicine, yes? I'm no stranger to what you need to do, so yes, I consent. Really? Then that makes things easier. But I have questions. Questions that I think only you can answer. Very well. Dave, do you mind giving us some privacy? If this is what I think it's about, it'd be best if Sal and I have this chat alone. Oh, it's alright, Dave. I'll be fine. I nodded slowly, looking between the two of them. You know, let me adjust my chair because I'm actually a little uncomfortable right now, like physically uncomfortable. Nodded slowly, looking between the two of them. Oswin rummaged around in his pockets and pulled out what looked to be a hefty needle, seemingly intent on doing something here. Head inside. Benson should be around the kitchen, so you should be able to go get some coffee into you. With a little more coaxing from Sal, reassuring me that things were going to be alright, I headed inside. Sure enough, Benson was in the kitchen, brewing some coffee, and I took the time to properly wake up as I waited for the others to arrive. Good morning, everyone. What's this about a knife? That nasty piece of work was camping out by Dave's door yesterday. Was he? I never noticed. Sal shifted uncomfortably on the spot, occasionally rubbing his arm. Also, why is Sal in here? Why is he with you? Having spent the night outside, it appears our friend here may be on the brink of coming down with the cold. Or would if I hadn't treated him already. That quickly? I stood quickly, surprised and impressed. I'm good at what I do. Granted, there were some complications, but the results were fascinating, to say the least. Fascinating how? It appears Sal here has a very unique immune system. Would have been very useful in my studies much earlier in life if I'd had the chance to study it further. We're not done with our talk, by the way. Come now, Sal. Trust me, I have not forgotten. However, this leads me to an explanation of why what happened did in the first place. He pulled from a pocket a bottle of pills, rattling it and setting it down on the table. What's that? That's Dean's sleeping medication. Yes, and while the dosage is fairly strong, it is what it says on the label. But therein lies the problem. What's the problem exactly? Dean the Bearth, I'm guessing that, if not for bears. Sodium amobarbital is one treatment for insomnia, although it has a ghastly side effect of being a fairly strong sedative, and an equally potent hypnotic. What? In normal cases, it'd be no different than being a little delirious after an intensive visit to the dentist. In Sal's case, however, take what effects this has and distort it. So that means... Hiya. Orlando turned to Sal quickly and hugged him, and fairly tight from what I could see. It means that while under the effects of the medicine, yes, Sal was not the person that killed Dean and Roswell. One moment of happiness Orlando had was stolen from him and he almost went limp next to Sal. It means that someone told Sal to kill them both while he was under the influence. That may be only half true, sir. Sal and Orlando backed off as Benson strode into the dining room from the foyer, hands clasped neatly behind his back. Excuse me? If we're comparing this to the suggestiveness of a textbook sleepwalker, then Dean or Roswell may have just been collateral damage. What reason would there be to kill either of them? That's what has me puzzled. Can we go back a little bit? What's the matter, Dave? Sal didn't kill Dean or Roswell, or at least he wasn't himself when he did it. We know this because of the medicine, right? Yes, and? Then who told Sal to kill? The room went still and looks were exchanged about the place. While I understand you want to identify the culprit, increasing tensions right now will do no one any good. And you're sure of that? Pointing the blame at someone now is going to be counterproductive in getting those of us that wish to leave off the mountain. Hang on. I don't know what is up with my back right now. I do not know what is up with my back. No one not going to stop me. Pardon. I'm taking Dave and we're leaving through the forest. Fuck waiting around. And what are Dave's thoughts on this? He wants to leave. I didn't respond looking to Haas and Orlando, but they were sizing up what was happening in the room alongside gauging Sal. Tell them! Ty gripped my shoulder hard enough that it hurt, making me wince. Benson didn't seem too happy about what was happening, but held his tongue. I want to leave. Far be it to stop you from leaving, then. But, sir... They are not prisoners, Benson. If they wish to leave through the forest, then they are adults and can make that decision for themselves. Oh, hiya. Oh, yeah, that is a red flag. I just noticed the color of it. Yeah, thank you. That is red. I heard Haas scoff, shooting a look down to the end of the room where Tyson and I were. Ty gives the best kind of red flags. Ty gives off Leo's red flags. Leo Alvarez 2.0. Yeah, I already read that. I want to leave, but I'm not about to up and leave Roswell and Dean here. I have no intention of leaving, and I can only hazard that Benson feels the same. Is the forest dangerous? Truthfully, I don't know. Potentially if you can't navigate the terrain. Otherwise you'd be lost out there without supplies. We'll manage. I'm sure you will. Benson corralled the other three down towards our end of the table and then into the kitchen, presumably for breakfast. Ty's hand never left my shoulder, though, digging in. First it felt protective, but quickly felt more obsessive. What do you need? What? Dave, what do you need for your journey home? Supplies? A weapon? Batteries? I already got you some. Swipe them from the game room from some of the game controllers. How resourceful. If it's only batteries you need, then by all means you should be good to go. He chuckled and Ty's grip on me only tightened. He was uneasy about Oswald's reaction and was starting to pass to me as well. With a smile on his face, he wandered towards the kitchen much like the others before him, leaving Tyson and I alone. Okay, Ty. Benson's back at the house still, right? Tyson shrugged, shaking his head. Who knows? Probably. Tyson, you're being a bitch. Ah, fuck, it's Jack. It's alright, breathe. We'll need to tell Benson and Oswald that you're back, and when you're ready, what happened. Where are they now? Around somewhere. Oswald spent a lot of time moping around after Benson moved the bodies into the freezer. Don't know where he went after that. Wake up! I came to suddenly, at least in my bed, though Oswald was looming over me, hands on my shoulders. When I didn't answer him right away, he shook me again before stepping back so I could sit up. I'm awake! What happened? You were back when I assumed you were dead. Did you run into Benson out there? Benson? No, what time is it? Late, but I had to check. Wait, hold on, Benson was out in the woods? He didn't seem keen on the two of you heading off without any sort of protection. Although he's yet to return. He scratched his chin, sighing out. Wait, what? Very well, if you didn't run into Benson then, I suppose something must have come up. Are you worried? Quite. But Benson's proven reliable before. He'll show up again, and from what I heard from Haas, hopefully Tyson might make a return as well. I hope so. Forgive me for disturbing you, but, well, you understand my worries. I'll let you get your sleep. There was a notable slump in his shoulders as he left the room, but he said nothing else. For me, I lay back down to stare at the ceiling. Please be okay, Ty. Once more I found myself drifting off, the exhaustion of the day catching up with me once more. I felt bad for Oswald, but my body was giving out on me. It was a job for the morning.
It's time to drink water. It's time to drink water.
Hang on, how far along are we in path
It's time
C?
to drink water.
I'm checking something real
It's
quick.
time to drink water.
Because I genuinely don't know how long each of these paths are, so I'm checking. Where the fuck is password? Alright, because it's an older thing. Element OP. Oh shit, it's not there. I need to organize this folder. I need to organize this. And I keep saying I will, but then I don't. Fuck. I lost password. Maybe. Oh, there it is. Tyson got kidnapped and we're in the wrong castle. Rip beloved bozo. Yeah. Alrighty. So I'm checking for path C. And it looks like day 13 is the last day. Yeah, it looks like day 13 is the last day, so we're on the last day for path C. I woke up in my bed, and in a daze I rolled out and onto the floor. My head was splitting and I struggled to stand. Yeah. Mr. Osmond felt it was appropriate to detain you for your safety after you got back to the house. What? He can't do that? Well, he did, and with how you left suddenly, we were kind of worried. But Orlando and Haas! Both were unsure of what to think of you coming back without Tyson, but Haas felt a little betrayed, if glad you were back safe. But Osmond was the one that carried you to your room and tucked you in. I figured I'd just wait until you woke up. He woke me up last night asking if Benson had come back yet. Apparently he was out there with us and hadn't come back. Guessing he's back now though, right? I haven't seen him, no. Oh shit. Oh. Benson eyed me quietly, looking tired. He didn't say anything shy of his mustache twitching slightly as he was left in the same position I was in. Welcome back? Thank you. There was a question I wanted to ask, but I was afraid of the answer. Thankfully, he seemed to know where my mind was at. Alas, I have no news to give you, good nor bad. What's that supposed to mean? It means that the two of you aren't all that difficult to track, and while I found where you two had your altercation, couldn't find Hyde nor, well, no Tyson. That means he's safe. It means that he's still unaccounted for, rather than dead. But that means... As I made a turn for the forest, Benson reached out and grabbed my shoulder suddenly. Wait. Heading out now would only be a fool's errand. You do not know how to navigate the forest, and no doubt the others would rather you stay found than missing. Well, I can't do nothing. Aw, Yeen. Going to get killed. And you already did. Several times, actually. Ah, Master Oswin, I've returned. I can see that, and any longer and I might have been worried. Sir, now is hardly the time. And surprisingly out of character for you. Bah, fine. Either way, I'm glad you've returned. As Oswin turned to me, he quirked a brow with Howells frowning at him. Yes, Dave? You locked me up, and I see Sal let you out. Locked up? What's this? Oswin locked me up in my room. Mind explaining, Oswin? Given how readily he was to leave, and how he showed up without Tyson, I did what I thought was appropriate to ensure his safety. If we had more time, I'd make it clear in no uncertain terms how inappropriate that was, but alas, we're better to round up the others. I saw Haas moping around the place already, so I'll go round them up if you two wish to get things started. Really? That's it? Were you expecting retribution? An apology, maybe? Perhaps we'll get one if I start feeling sorry. Or if you'd rather enact physical violence. With my jaw clenched, I threw a punch without a further invitation, only to have it displaced by Benson quickly intervening. Will you both behave? It's bad enough that we have what's already transpired without you two at each other's necks. With a huff, Oswin turned away, looking around the foyer. Well then, I suppose there's nothing left to it, is there? I'll gather the others and we'll convene in the dining room. I will say this. While Oswin does have some bitchiness about him, I think it's more so the fact that he's fucking smart. And he's a little insane. Like, I don't know who said it, but someone said something... Hang on. Seeing if I can find it. I don't know. Like, Oswin, he is being a bitch. I will say that. He is a bitch. And I think in some cases we make him our bitch. But no. I think it's like... Why the fuck is my microphone doing that? Go down a level. There we go. Perfect. But I think Oswin is just slowly going mad. I think that's it. And with that, he left the two of us behind. Benson led the way into the dining room and the two of us waited. My eyes kept looking out of the window, to the trees and whatever lay beyond in hopes Tyson was okay. As far as I knew, he was at least someone that could potentially still be saved. And it confused me why no one seemed to want to mount a rescue mission right away. It was the right thing to do, wasn't it? He was worth saving, right? Benson placed a hand on my shoulder and I turned to face him, pulling my attention away from the window. Soon, Dave. Soon. You're more likely to rally those to your cause if your potential allies are aware of the situation. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up one again. Okay, there we go. Come on, microphone. Cooperate with me here. Okay. Microphone, why aren't you cooperating? Why aren't you cooperating right now? There, now you're cooperating. Everyone here? Good. I looked around and saw that Oz had rounded up who he had to. Resting back against the wall next to the window, Orlando was fidgeting, nervous about something in Oswin's side out, rubbing his eyes. A bit of a tight spot we find ourselves in, isn't it? Beth, putting it real lightly. People have died, were trapped on this mountain, plus whatever happened yesterday. Speaking of, I believe it'd be best for Dave to tell us what exactly happened. He gave me a knowing look and I hung my head. Tyson, we headed into the forest and got lost. Don't really know how far in, but I guess not very far. With how you ended up back here, it does seem that way. Would also explain why Benson didn't get back until this morning. About that, sir. Something else caught my attention, although the specifics are something I'll let Dave explain, having experienced it firsthand. You saw something out there? I nodded slowly, my voice held low as my eyes slowly came to meet Orlando's. Yeah. The two of us set up camp somewhere, and then this rabbit, appeared with a knife. Excuse me. Ty told me to run for it, and that's when I last saw him, wrestling with the guy trying to get the knife. I can confirm that there's a spot by the river where something of the sort took place. Blood, but not enough to hint at a fatal injury, although no sign of either Tyson or his assailant. A rabbit? In the woods surrounding my property? Now is not the time, Oswin. At least that's what I'd say on normal circumstances. Are rabbits bad? I looked to Oswin, seeing that his jaw had clenched and his fists tightened. It almost seemed as though Benson were to answer in his place before he spoke. No, rabbits aren't bad. I frowned at Oswin, his tone confusing me. I looked at Benson, who seemed to be as confused for all of a second before turning to be as stoic as ever. Although I guess it's more accurate to say not all are. He shook his head, rubbing the bridge of his nose briefly so he could adjust his glasses. The more important thing here is that it is not normal to have a trespasser on this mountain, let alone a rabbit. I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter specifically what this guy is. I believe it's worth considering, given a certain individual doesn't take kindly to being told no. Who? Memphis Noble. But that's Orlando's family? Dad. Indeed. He didn't seem to like the fact that someone had the gall to say no to a mob boss, but here we are. I looked at Orlando quickly, not surprised at the news, but worried all the same. Okay, but say no to what exactly? What could be worth having some guy out in the woods with a knife? It's the vault, isn't it? What makes you say that? Did he say anything to you? No, but I know my dad. I know what he's like. We saw what that thing could do through Dave, right? You had any idea that the vault could do what Dave said it could do? A mobster with a machine that could tell you how those around you could die seems, I don't know, dangerous? Yeah, something like that anyway. As it turns out, Memphis believed that it was quite simply a time machine, a thing that would let him do things over if he so wanted. Not that he particularly wanted to hear an explanation as to why he was wrong, mind you, just how much it would cost him. But they never gave him a price. Correct. I told him it wasn't for sale, and he couldn't work it with me dead. So just shooting me was off the table. Not that Benson would have allowed anything to happen to me anyway. So the rabbit would likely be because he shook down someone or otherwise found out they don't sit right with me. And also someone sent to potentially deal with Benson in an attempt to just take the vault for himself. So great. We have something that's working for Orlando's dad, and we have someone who's working for Orlando's dad, and he's out to steal something you don't want to give him, and this guy tried to kill David Tyson over it. Wait, could he be the one that caused the explosion? All things considered, it wouldn't surprise me if he did. Him or an associate. I doubt that Memphis would be dumb enough to send only one in to try and take what he feels entitled to. Looking over to Sal, he decided to keep himself quiet and small. Off to the side, somewhere fiddling with his hands. He'd said nothing so far, and I pulled away from my spot to get closer. Sal? Yes, Dave? What do you think? That we're in big trouble with how things stand. And if I'm being honest, I don't feel like it's my place to have an opinion and just do as I'm told. Why wouldn't you have an opinion? We're all in this together, aren't we? I could feel the others staring at my back, potentially silent to let Sal speak out of curiosity I did not know. Remember, I killed Dean and Roswell. Oswin walked up to stand beside me, looking over Sal as he scratched his chin. Do you regret it? What? Do you regret killing them? Regret it? I can barely remember doing it, and it's awful. I didn't want to kill anyone. The two stared at each other, almost having a conversation between themselves without saying a word. Good. Then you'll do well to live for their sake, at least until we can figure out why it all happened. We'll add it to the ever-growing list of things we need to do. Okay. As far as knowing what to do, though, I'm at a loss. He does deserve a hug. Well, I'd suggest consulting with Benson, but only after a decision has been made on what to do. I moved to look out the window, wondering what was to happen next. Were we just waiting to die? All because of that thing downstairs. There are two things I want to do. Two things that seem to make the most sense to me. And those two things would be... The first, I want to save Tyson. If Benson couldn't find him, that means he's not dead and in just as much trouble as we are. That's a big ask. We don't know where to really head, do we? Or what to expect. Hunting in the woods isn't that big of an ask, but that's speaking as someone who has experience.
Let's see if Twitch can catch this.
It looks like Twitch
Bide my
can't
time.
catch it.
Bide my time, wearing a warning sign. Wait till the world is mine. Visions I've analyzed.
Hang on, I will
Cold
be
in my kingdom size.
right back.
Fell for these ocean's eyes. You should see me in a crown. I'm gonna run this nothing town. Watch me make 'em bow one by one.
And I'm back. Hunting in the woods isn't that big of an ask, but that's speaking as someone who has experience. For the rest, however, that may make things difficult. Although Haas has the right... Wait, what? Although Haas has the right of it, without knowing what to expect, we could just be rushing into more danger. Wouldn't he need you alive for the vault thing? Correct. Regrettably, that does not extend to the rest of you. I turned away from the window, alarmed, and quickly hung my head. He was right, obviously, as much as I didn't want to admit it. And the second, Dave. The second is to just give Orlando's dad the vault. Or something that he'll believe is a thing, right? That man will not get his greedy hands on that device. And what that says to me is that you'd rather see more of us die than give him something he cannot use. Oswin went to retort, but a firm hand snapped out to find his place on Oswin's front, acting as a lone barrier between me and him. Let's leave it at that, shall we? There's no need to escalate things further. When no reply came from Oswin, Benson shot him a harsh look, earning him a grunt of acknowledgement. As it stands, I agree with Dave in that securing Tyson, or at least discerning his fate, is the best course of action. And the rest of us, knowing if Tyson's alright ain't getting us off this mountain any sooner, then perhaps that's something we can look into. While Benson and whomever wishes to go with him on this rescue mission do so, those that remain behind can assist me in finding a way safely off the mountain. I suppose that is fair. While I don't particularly like the idea of splitting up, as it were, going into the woods alone seems foolhardy. I nodded to him, and he gave a brief one back. There was no way I wasn't going to go, and at least try, knowing Tyson would do the same for me. Please be safe, Benson. Oh, I'll be perfectly fine. Shall we spend what is left of the day preparing and readying ourselves for this mission, Dave? Yeah, alright. The pair of us looked over to Sal, still standing by himself off to the side. He seemed to be wondering something, and sure enough, he spoke up. I would like to come too. Really? Really. I can't navigate the forest all that well, but I can tell where there might be water. That could be useful. And if it's dangerous, I want to help protect you. Most importantly, I'm hoping I'll find some answers as to what happened that night. If no one in the house knows what happened, maybe someone else nearby does. I can't say I'm entirely keen on the idea of you coming along hoping for something that isn't there, but if your heart is set on it, I won't turn down the help. The other benefit is that it will keep the groups even. Yes, I suppose all things considered, splitting the group in half like this would suit just fine. Cool, so I guess we go get ready, huh? It was a meeting, but it didn't feel like morale was any higher. Just now that we had a goal, that we knew that there was a lunatic rabbit working for a dragon that wanted something he couldn't have. Time I spent getting ready, or what amounted to making sure I still had shoes and my flashlight, were spent thinking about the vault. They do wear shoes! Why was it made? Why was Oswin so adamant about not handing it over even now? Who was marked for death, and why did it even matter anymore? I must have spent hours wondering these questions, the root of everything that had gone wrong so far. It had worked once, but couldn't stop a tragedy befalling us, so by my count, it was just broken. Wait. Do the Masquerade and the Woods characters wear shoes? Who all wears shoes? Fuck. They do wear shoes. It was going to be a Sam and Max situation where they didn't. I don't know why. My mind wandered, trying to make sense of it all. The who and the why still escaped me. This was a vacation, but now friends were dead. Each step I took while thinking about it felt automatic. The names of each of my friends repeating on end in my head. until I came to stand before the one person who might have answers right now. Oswin. He looked up at me from a book he was looking through, barely any light in the library compared to when we first spoke. Back then, there were candles, but now it's just relying on my eyes adjusting to the light along with my flashlight directed at the ground. Dave. Breathing in deep, I gripped my flashlight tight and looked Oswin in the eye. Why did you make it? He stared back, slipping the book back on the shelf and placing his hands neatly in his pockets. Why did you make the vault? Why can I use it? Why will someone mark for death? Why, Oswin? Why? Still he said nothing, watching me carefully. He gestured for me to sit and took his spot across the table from me, much like he did the first time. As I sat down, he lit the candles and I turned off my flashlight, only for us to continue looking at one another. Why do you want to know? We're in danger because of it. Everything that's happened so far is because of it, but I don't really know why it is even here. Again, I felt like we were just going to stare at one another until he replied, voice level of quiet. That is fair enough. I will tell you, but I'll inform you up front that the answer you're looking for may not be all that helpful. I want to know anyway. Then simply, the vault was made by the three of us. Reginald, myself, and, well, your sister. That's right. While it was spearheaded by my older brother and sister, I no doubt was brought on for more of the intricate understanding of things. Or perhaps it was just my willingness to help them in any way I could lead to me being part of its creation. That's the who, not the why. My siblings wished to do good, Dave. Of that I have no doubt. When Reginald died, there was less enthusiasm towards the project. Maybe it was just something we could bond over. It's hard to say. Work on it stopped short of it being completed. But we know it works when it wants to, otherwise it wouldn't have shown me things. I scratched my head, growing frustrated. I wasn't expecting another story here, but I was getting information I didn't ask for. It does. I finished it myself. Something to remember my older brother by, and my older sister when she moved on to greener pastures, but not for a few years after the trial. When those kids died. Yes. His gaze dipped away briefly, returning back to mine, stony and cold. Something happened, I don't know, 5 or so years later. The despair of losing almost 100 children to my mistakes shook me to my core. But after the years passed following, I assumed the vault could help prevent more than one tragedy. And the event was... I can't give you the details, not yet, but in broad strokes I can tell you that my interest in getting the vault to work was to save two very specific people. People who for the time being need to remain anonymous. Why? Of all times, why keep them a secret? Why now? I made promises that I would keep with my life. Promises that involve their identities remain a secret until the month is up. My eyes widened, resting back in my chair. So you know who's marked for death after all? I do. If you've been attentive enough, you should have an idea as well. Come on, Dave. All things considered, you should rightly know without me needing to say. Sound I made was somewhere in the realm of a rattled breath, having an idea, but I was scared of the implication. And the other person, if one of the people is the one you say is marked for death, why is there a second? Because I made a mistake, simple as that. A mistake that I intend on fixing, if not in this lifetime, maybe another. I thought you said you didn't really believe in all that stuff. Oswin rose from his chair, sighing out. I didn't. Well, I can't argue with evidence, and I can't explain how you divine the fates of your friends or Benson without it. I rose too, planting my hands on the table for support. Well, it didn't help me stop Sal a few days ago. It didn't stop that rabbit from attacking me and Tyson. Don't misunderstand. The vault wasn't the mistake, but a mistake was made all the same. And before you ask, no, I'm not going to tell you what that mistake was, as it doesn't have any bearing on keeping those alive. Still alive. So that's it then? Indeed. I trust you've prepared yourself for your outing with Benson. You have a friend to save. Yeah, I'm as ready as I'll ever be. Is that so? Then perhaps you'll allow me to offer something that may come in handy. You never know, after all. He placed something down onto the desk and slid it closer to me, and I reached down to pick it up. A hunting knife, wide and sharp, glinting in what little light was given to us by the candles. Just in case. I don't want it to come to that. You might not have a choice, Dave. Now come on, there's nothing left for either of us here. And it'd be best for you to get something in you as far as food. I wasn't hungry, but at least I had a few more answers. The knife was heavy in my hand, and while I assumed it was meant to make me feel safer, I felt the opposite. Maybe it was because now having a weapon just made the danger real, or that I was deciding to actually do something more dangerous. It was giving me second thoughts, but I also didn't feel like I had a choice. Before we were down in the foyer, and for whatever reason, my eyes went to the back door. The grip on the knife Oswin gave me loosened as I craned my neck for a better look. Parting through the trees was him, and I immediately took a few steps back. At the same time, I clutched that knife tight again and brought it in front of me while I trembled. No deal. What? What did you say? I got some big ears, so maybe I just misheard you. No deal. But Benson, he has Tyson. I'm well aware of that, Dave. Fine, maybe I grabbed the wrong one after all. But I'm getting what my boss is after one way or another. I do not believe you are in a position to make such claims. Ah, yes, of course. Sounds as if I have leverage. Do I? He snickered to himself while I ground my teeth in worry. Turning to Benson, worried, I tugged on his arm, pleading. Just give him the vault, please. Come on, Benny boy. Just give me the vault. Benson? Given Tyson's absence, I imagine you have him hold up someone with whomever was on the other end of that radio. Your point? And at the very least, I'm not making an exchange in the dark of night. If I decide to be so generous, then you shall see us in the morning. Suits me fine. If I get bored, I'll just take it out in the mud. I rushed forward to grab him, but he leapt back and grabbed his knife mid-crouch. Careful now, Dave. You shouldn't be so feisty before bed. I growled, but with the distance he had quickly put between us, I backed off to stand beside Benson again. Tell you what, maybe I'll see you tomorrow at the watermill, maybe I won't. Either way, sweet dreams! I'm sure to pass it along to your friend, too. Then as quickly as he'd appeared, that bitch. But what about Oswin? Leave him to me. I'll think of something, although I'll likely be up most of the night figuring it out with him. Consider it the downside to working for a man that wants his cake and eats it, too. Oh, we're on day 14. Wait, are we still on path C? Shit. Hang on. Yeah, we're still on path C. You don't look well. Is there anything I can get you? Tyson. Get me Tyson. Yes, well, that's something that we're to do today, isn't it? I nodded, stumbling towards the dining room. Well, in any case, go take a seat and I'll bring you something to right your stomach. How did you know I was sick? I felt that way on my first assignment, and you look the spitting image of such. Once I was seated, Benson wandered off and brought me some tea. Turned my nose up at it, but along with a few slices of bread, it was something I knew would make my stomach churn further. Morning. Oswin, leave the boy alone. Fine, but I can't say I'm overly fond of you going into the woods, Benson. Come now, it's not the first time and it's hardly anything new to deal with. We've also never had ourselves trapped on this mountain. Indeed. Still, have you given thought to what I proposed? I looked between the two of them, watching as Oswin pulled out something bundled up in cloth and passed it over to Benson. He'd want it this way, I believe. It's not as if it's much of use to us at the moment anyway. Hopefully it's enough to satiate those in the woods enough to retrieve Tyson. It'll help us get Tyson? What is it? My attempt at a ruse, my boy. I'm not sure if it'll even work, but it's something at least. So it's a weapon? No, something a lot different to a weapon, although I'm hardly going to let you go into the woods unarmed. No need. I armed the boy yesterday. With what, may I ask? My knife. It's better used in his hands than on my desk. A gun is out of the question given he's shaking so much you're likely to get shot in the back accidentally. A smart move. Where's the knife now? Upstairs. Then it'd be best to go retrieve it before you head out. You are still intending on heading in, yes? I nodded slowly, clutching the knife offered to me and holding it to my chest. Having it made me feel a little stronger, or maybe just made me feel less vulnerable. Excuse me. Sal, did you sleep well? Sal was looking anywhere but me, nodding slightly to Benson. Given the circumstances, it was enough. Are you still planning on going into the woods? He is. Can I, be of assistance there? I'd welcome it. Take my gun. Compared to the hyena, you're at least not shaking. It'd likely fit your hands, too. You'd willingly unarm yourself. It's a calculated risk. Taking them into the woods, unable to help you, is more of a liability. I don't think they'd attempt to come here without confirming you're elsewhere anyway. Reckless, but I'm inclined to agree it's a safe gamble. We'll head out within the hour, get what you feel you may need, and I'll meet you out in the backyard. Sal put a hand on my shoulder, making me jump slightly in the chair. Dave, I hate to ask, but are you sure you want to come? I need to. He's He's my brother, or maybe, I don't... Alright, well, I guess it's all that matters. I shall go and get you that gun, Sal. You two sit tight. The two of them left and Sal sat down next to me, fiddling with his hands. It will be alright, Dave, I promise. You can't promise that. You don't know what's going to happen. I know that when I need someone in my corner, even after what I did, you were there. I know that I can be there for you now, even when it's looking bleak. And I know that whatever happens, I can keep you safe. There wasn't much else to be said at that point. I ate my bread, drank my tea. At some point, Sal did the same, and wordlessly we wandered outside to meet Benson when it was time. Stepping out into the morning air had an unpleasant crispness to it that bit at my skin. Maybe it was due to me being sensitive to everything going on, but sure enough, Benson was there standing alongside Oswin. You've got everything you need? No matter how many times you ask, sir, the answer is still yes. Oswin grunted, looking towards me and turning back to Benson. Well, remember, lobster for dinner. What? What? He turned to leave, pausing to address Sal on his way past. Here's my gun. It's loaded already, but you shouldn't need it, hopefully. Without another word, he handed off the gun and wandered inside, leaving the three of us left to converse. Are you ready? As I'll ever be. Is no one going to say that it's going to be fine, that everything is just going to work out? I looked between Sal and Benson, the two of them keeping their gaze averted. Please? Let's just hope for the best. We set off, my heart sinking further. Clutching the knife to my chest, each step forward towards the tree line was shaky and uncertain, but I kept pace. As we crossed the threshold into the forest proper, my breath caught in my chest. It was somehow darker than I thought it would be, but I kept my eyes on Benson's back as I followed. Lobster for dinner. Is it a code? Greeting me was a large black rat, almost as if it were sleeping, but it was almost certainly dead from how limp it was. But it still was oddly heavy, a cup in its front having been sewn shut. Oh, fuck. Who do we save? Do we save Sal or do we save Benson? Decisions! Okay, we got Kat saying Sal. I know what has to die. I know, and I don't like it. I don't like it. Who did we save last time? I believe we saved Sal last time. Ah, fuck. Yeah, can we call the Ghostbusters? No, not the Ghostbusters. The Justice League. I was raised by nerds. Okay, we got 2 for Sal, 2 for Benson. We got 1, 2 for Benson, for Sal. I can't create a poll because I don't have the Twitch website open. It'll kill my laptop. Wait, Amethyst, are you able to create a poll? Got 1 for Sal. And for Benson, another for Benson. Another for Benson. We're saving Benson. It's 3 against 1. Choosing Benson. Sal was armed. He was safer than Benson was at the moment, and I made a move for Benson's gun. What's this? Little hyena, grow some balls. Put him down! If anything, the bear's grip tightened and Benson started to convulse, thrashing against his restraints. Looking into Benson's eyes was a furious, if desperate look. They darted to the gun in my hand before starting to roll back, his twitching starting to increase. No! For I knew I had fired, eyes closed as my fingers tightened on the trigger, bracing for a resounding bang. That came out was a loud roar-like yell. I rushed over to Benson, and he was wild, bracing himself up on all fours, hacking up blood, but he seemed fine enough. As I looked back to check up on Sal, I was pushed backwards onto my rear with the gun swiped from my hand. Die! In one fluid motion, Benson had taken his gun back and fired, landing a shot between the eyes of the bear and making him crumple onto the ground. One wound in his shoulder, one in his head, and he was gone. From my spot on the ground, I looked back over to Sal as Benson swiveled around the gun at his next target, breath catching in my chest. Jack jumped away from his perch on Sal's back, yanking the knife that he plunged into his throat and using him as cover. Well, at least we can consider this a trade, right? 1 for 1. Dave, we're leaving. There's nothing more for us here. But Tyson! Oh yeah, your little dog friend. Why don't you go inside and see what's left of him? I felt cold, looking between Jack and from the entry to the mill, wondering if I could make a break for it. Benson fired again, making me cover my ears. Seemed as though he missed his mark somehow. You should know better than that! Why don't we call it quits for now and pick this up later? He bolted, retreating behind cover and then out of sight before Benson could line up a shot again. Crawled over to Sal, looking at the blood pouring from his open neck wound. He was alive, if only for a few seconds more. Our eyes locked, his hand moved forward towards me before falling limp. Then he was gone. We need to get back to the house. But Tyson! And the others back at the house? Please, if he's alive and we leave, then... Fine. Oh, this is going to be horrifying. I rushed inside looking around. The place was dusty and dirty, but the smell of blood only got stronger. Tyson! Benson was behind me. Each step seemed to be measured as always, but there was something off about how he was stepping. Angrier, maybe. Tyson, where are you? I was just following the scent of blood to where it was strongest, but the large room underground seemed to have that scent everywhere. Everything, it all smells the same. Benson breathed in deep, approaching to stand beside me. It's suffocating. Are you sure you don't wish to turn back now? I continued to look around, falling to my knees as I looked behind an old conveyor belt. As much as I wanted to look away, I couldn't stop. Every part seemed to be increasingly worse as I noticed more and more wrong with how Tyson was left. Dad. I barely heard him, although I knew. Deep down I knew that this mangled body was Tyson. What remained of that pale blue fur behind the multiple cuts and bloodstains were unmistakably his. It seemed he had been chained to the wall by his neck, collared and leashed like a dog. Ty? It felt so surreal. Even reaching out and touching him didn't cement that he was gone. The blood was crusty and slightly gelatinous, his body cold. We weren't even close to saving him. We need to go. Without waiting for a reply, I was dragged to my feet and marched out of the mill. At some point, I felt my face damp, but I couldn't tell if it was blood or just tears. Not that Benson seemed to care with how he was keeping us moving at a steady pace, presumably back in the direction of the mansion. As the mansion came into view, I saw Oswin standing by the back door looking out into the forest. You are back. Indeed, although not without trouble. I'm sorry. Truth be told, I'm only alive because of Dave. Were he a moment slower, well... We didn't get Tyson either, but Sal... I appreciate it, my boy. You made sure Benson got home, so I'm thankful for that. I whined, clutching my fur tight and tugging. Sir, we're in danger. While one's been dispatched, the rabbit is still a problem. I'll take what I can get. I've already run the plan past Thanatos, and he's on board somewhat. Thanatos? I'll explain later. Get inside, we have things we need to do. The three of us headed inside. I kept my head down, at a loss as to what was to happen now. Sal was dead, Tyson was rescued, but knowing who we were against now didn't seem to make me feel better. Even with one of them now dead. You're back, but... Sal's missing. Indeed, he's... Wait, don't tell me Heath! I'm sorry, there was nothing we could do. Orlando dropped to his knees, starting to sob quietly at the base of the stairs. What happened out there anyway? there are more of them than just the rabbit that showed up. One we've already dealt with, but alas, it came at the cost of losing Sal in the process. You sacrificed him? On the contrary, if Dave had done nothing, there's every chance all three of us would have not made it back. Damn. Still, they've shown their hand, and I wonder how long it will be before they realize we've duped them. What do you mean? Jack seemed pretty sure we gave him what gave him was right. I'll admit I was expecting to bonk at the rat, but without flinching he knew where to look. Not only that, he found something. It might buy us a little time, it might not, but anything is better than nothing at this point. More importantly, I don't think they'll risk making a move with Benson still with us. Is that threatening? I'd be more threatening if I was still on my prime. But I can still kill a man should the need arise. You can't be serious. Rather than explain, let's figure out what our next move should be. It's frankly the more pressing issue than discussing Benson's past anyway. You have something in mind? We find ourselves in a rather precarious situation. For the most part, I believe Oswin is safe, as he's needed should anything go awry. That doesn't exactly fill me with a lot of confidence that that applies to the rest of us. Regrettably not. I'm afraid. I'm most likely at risk given the presumed threat level I carry.
It's time to drink water.
Sit somewhere in between.
It's time to drink water.
I'd argue that the
It's time to drink water.
second most dangerous.
It's time to drink water.
Like, if we're talking, like, pure danger level, I think this is how it goes. It goes, Benson. Like, just like the main cast, not counting the antagonists. I think Benson is probably the most dangerous out of all of them. I mean, come on! Just look at him. Look at that face. Look at that little mustache. Obviously, he's deadly. Then it's Oswin. Oswin is probably the second most dangerous. Retired James Bond looking ass. I think the fucker was an assassin. James Bond was a spy. Looking. Then I'm pretty sure it's Roswell. Right? I don't think we'll ever get a Benson flavor, though. Regrettably not, I'm afraid. Yeah. Where do I fit? Pardon? With everything going on with my family, am I safe or not safe? That'd entirely be up to your father, but I'm not going to go ask him and risk the consequences. Orlando shifted uncomfortably on the spot, looking away. Chances are we might have to deal with more than one person, even after disposing of one already. So what, we barricade the doors? We could, although we run the risk of barricading ourselves in. That's kind of the point. And what would we do if there was a fire? I'd rather not turn my house into a literal oven while I'm still inside. But weapons, we could, get weapons? Potentially. They're the sword upstairs, the task to the armor, and plenty of knives in the kitchen. We're likely going to need something more long-range, just in case. So, guns. Indeed. The comment was left there, and I excused myself to make a beeline for the kitchen. I braced myself on the sink and ran the water. I was parched from having trekked through the forest, not to mention the foul taste at the back of my throat from where what little I'd had to eat threatening to come up. Breathe, Dave. My knuckles started to hurt from how tightly I'd been clutching the edge of the sink. But I nodded quickly. Benson went and got a glass and provided me water. The moment it was within reach, I snatched it up and gulped it down. I'd say the worst is over, but I really don't know yet. What about you? How's your... I gestured tiredly to my chest and he nodded slowly. Tender and likely a few cracked ribs, but nothing that won't heal with time. That's just it, do we have the time? It's hard to say. The others have gone to figure out how best to prepare for the rabbit's arrival. No doubt he'll be on his way with Master in tow. Makes you so sure? After the loss of his partner in crime and that being made known to their employer, no doubt a certain boss will wish to take things into his own hands. He's just that kind of guy? As hard-headed as he is headstrong, although equally dim to boot. Sounds dangerous, ruthless, with a lot of power and not nearly enough compassion, my boy. I wouldn't be surprised if we walked right up to the front door and knocked it off its hinges rather than do anything remotely stealthy. Benson helped me back into the foyer where the others were nowhere to be seen, at least not at first. Feeling any better? A little. Sir, if I may, what was it that you hid in that rat? Just a USB with some encrypted files. Should keep them busy for a little while, hopefully. or rile them up further. It was a calculated risk. The other two are upstairs steeling themselves for what's to come. Neither are keen on using a gun, although I gather for different reasons. I get the impression they may not have a choice if their survival is at stake. I checked my hands, wondering why I wasn't holding a knife, and wondered when I would have dropped it. If you're looking for the knife, it's sitting on the dining table. You dropped it just beside the back door. And my revolver? Alas, I did not think to retrieve it from Sal when we made our escape. A pity. We have a problem. Rabbit in the backyard. Oswin tensed. Benson muttered something under his breath, and my heart sank once again. Whatever trick Oswin tried to pull hadn't worked. Benson, with gun in hand, cautiously made his way over to the back door. Did you two find anything to arm yourselves with? Outside of the sword from the museum, we couldn't think of anything. We'll have to make do with knives from the kitchen then. It might not need to come to that, but it's something. Haas nodded quickly and dashed off into the dining room, leaving just the three of us in the foyer. How's it looking out there, Benson? For the time being, he hasn't made a move, but he doesn't look too happy. Well, if you got the better of him in the woods, it's no wonder. Is he armed? Only with his knife. Well, let's go see what he wants. We can't go outside. What if he tries something? So what if he does? Oswin marched out the back, lingering near the back door while Benson covered him with his gun. Okay, bye, Haas rushed back in with some knives, handing the hunting knife to me while handing a cleaver to Orlando. Here's what we'll have to do, I guess. We won't need to actually use these, will we? Depends. You know how to use them? Around to the front door, looking behind us to the person standing there. Hi. Hi, bitch. Hi, bitch. You're looking extra bitchy right now. You know what you should do? That would be totally amazing. Here's what you should do, and it'll be totally amazing. You should go into the kitchen and check under the sink. There should be something magical there. It's a nice clear liquid. You know what you should do? You should look for the nice clear liquid in a white bottle labeled Clorox bleach. You know it would be totally Gucci of you if you drank that entire bottle. That would be amazing. God damn it. In all seriousness, if you're watching this, don't drink bleach. That's a horrible idea. It's one of the worst ideas ever. But this fucker should drink bleach. This fucker, Memphis Noble, should be drinking bleach. I hate that I'm almost able to twin with him. Like, my hair isn't in a ponytail, it's in a bun. I hate that both me and him tie our hair back. I hate that.
Have a shot of bleach, Mr. Denny's worker with a no life.
So, you know what I'm going to do? Just for this, let me adjust my camera. Just for this, because I don't want to twin with him, I'm going to take my hair down. Gonna take my hair down and leave it down for the rest of stream. So, fuck you, Memphis. Maybe take my hair down. The voice wasn't familiar to me, but upon seeing him, I knew we'd met. Your dad? Hey, inside, quick! Haas's hand was barely on the back door before he slumped against it, following the sounds of a couple quick gunshots. Looking to Memphis, he had his gun trained on me next, scowling. You going to go running too? Quickly, I shook my head and put my hands up, looking to Orlando. You thought him? You're next if you don't shut up! Stop the damn crying while you're at it! How dare you come into my house uninvited? Sounds of gunfire and fighting echoed in from outside, but I couldn't pull my gaze away from the mass of red in front of me. Just the man I was wanting to see. Got your little present. Much appreciated. What else could you possibly want now? The rest can't use it if it's still in your house. And if I refuse? He raised his gun in reply, shifting it over to me and making my blood run cold. One more kids to die because of you can be arranged. Orlando grabbed me and shielded me from his dad, holding me so tight it almost hurt. You'll have to shoot me first. Fine by me. You know what? You know what? It's go time. It's go time, bitch. It's go time, bitch. I don't give a shit that I'll be twinning with you. I don't give a shit. It's go time, bitch. It's go time, bitch. Oh, fuck. That could have gone better. It's go time. You ready? You ready for this shit? You ready for this shit, Memphis? You fucking reverse chameleon looking ass? I don't know. Do I want to say it? These hands, you're gonna catch these hands. These hands are rated E for everyone. It's just like a Nintendo Wii. It's rated E for everyone. I'm gonna throw these hands just like Grandma throwed a fucking Wiimote. This should be one. Oh no! Without flinching, he fired, Orlando going rigid in front of me before his grip lessened. His eyes met mine right before they rolled back and he landed on his side on the floor. Blood pooling on the tiled floor. Damn you! Oswin grabbed me quickly, pulling me away from Orlando to his side, holding my wrist tight. I'm gonna throw these... This is what I said. I'm gonna throw these hands like how Grandma threw the Wiimote. My grandmother never actually threw a Wiimote. Grandma, no! I'm gonna break your face just like how that Wiimote broke the TV. God damn it! Oswin grabbed me quickly, pulling me away from Orlando to his side, holding my wrists tight. Your move. Take the damn thing, then. Appreciate it, but I should make a point of you talking to me like that. Once again, the gun was pointed at me, my eyes trained at the end of the barrel. Benson finally rushed in from outside, pointing his gun at Orlando's dad. Sir? There's my move, Memphis. I could shoot the kid and take a bullet from that pea shooter your butler has. This changes nothing. Indeed. However, Benson shifted his gun to point directly at Oswin's head. At Oswin instead. You need Oswin alive in case you can't get the vault to work. Were you to shoot the hyena, you'll find yourself with no one to ask should you struggle further down the line. There's still Jack. No, with both of his kneecaps thoroughly broken. What? What? Grandma spank Memphis' ass. Fucker broke his kneecaps. I keep seeing this thing. It's like, I'm gonna bust your fucking kneecaps. Benson literally did that. Give Benson a pencil and we'll all die. Fucking John. No, not John. Fucking. He just broke his fucking kneecaps. Fucking breathe. Okay, I'm calm. Now with both of his kneecaps thoroughly broken. Memphis seemed to weigh his options, gun still steady on me. At some point I closed my eyes and just waited for it to happen. The smell of blood around me was making me sick. And I just wanted to pass out to avoid everything I was feeling. Fine. Get out. But I know how to find you if I need to. Slowly, Oswin and Benson guided me to the front door. Memphis, meanwhile, watched us like a hawk through narrowed eyes. He didn't even seem fazed by his son dead on the ground, and the moment we were out, I squeaked. My legs were like lead, but Oswin continued to pull me out of the house despite my silent protests. What a waste. You did what you could. I could feel him tremble as he held on to me, holding me close. Benson, we need to get away from here, now! And so we fled, Benson, Oswin, and I. Rather, it was closer to me being dragged away from the house. Down the driveway, and we took the risk of trying to scale the break in the road. A few times I almost fell off, or rather considered just letting go, but Oswin seemed to ensure I didn't. Then it was down the mountain, and we started hiking towards the closest town. I asked if we should contact the police, and Oswin said not to bother, instead calling someone else while Benson took me aside. He didn't say much, but gave me a hug while I slumped against him and sobbed in exhaustion. We'd been walking for hours, and I fell asleep while waiting for whoever it was that was coming for us. Someone Oswin knew, apparently. We were in the car when I woke up, in the back with Oswin with my head resting on his lap. I felt weak, limbs felt numb, but I got a different bore in the driver's seat. Break his Nico kneecaps. Oswin's hand on my shoulder was rubbing gently, mumbling things down to me that sounded soothing if nothing but white noise as I passed out again soon after. Next time after was at my own house with Oswin helping me to the door. Here we are. My house. Get inside. Sleep off what happened when you can, and let Benson and I handle the rest. As he turned to go, I grabbed him roughly by the sleeve, clamping down tight. Don't leave me alone! Not now! Not after that! Is there no one you can be with now? Your mother, perhaps. She's likely at work and she wouldn't understand. I'm inclined to agree. You know my mom? We've crossed paths, enough for me to consider that what you're saying is likely the truth. Alas, I cannot bring you to my sister's residence as much as I would like to. There are complications in doing so right now. And you can't stay here? Please? I do not believe that is wise, not when there's an unstable dragon sieging my family home. Sir, Florencia's wondering if you are alright. I'm fine, just trying to figure out the best avenue forward. She also said to tell me that you're staying here with the boy. Excuse me? She believes that it's in the best interest for the both of you to spend some time together while I see to reclaiming the house. Oswin huffed but relaxed. Looking past Benson to the car, he shot the other boar in the car a sour look while she waved back sweetly. Fine. I'll check in with you until later. For now, try to relax knowing the worst is behind us. We wandered inside and I started to pace as Oswin watched Benson and his sister leave. What are we meant to do now? The police, right? We call the police? I looked to Oswin and he was examining a picture that was sitting on one of the shelves in the living room. The police likely won't do anything. The Noble family has most of them on payroll to look the other way. Rather, enough to make doing anything against them problematic for those still with some level of moral compass. So we do nothing? We wait. That's all we can do. I'm also hoping that happens, because it's adorable. Oswin was around for a week before he departed with Benson to go do something, and I'd heard nothing. No one had told me anything, and even Mom had been scarce. Even going to the hospital to try and find her gave me a quick 5-minute conversation before she was called away to save someone's life. But here I was, sitting in front of Dad's grave wondering who takes care of the living if everyone's gone. The dead and the dying get all the attention, and here I was, left all alone. Dad, what's left for me? What am I... I trailed off with a sigh, rubbing my face. I felt more tired, sleep was infrequent, and the lack of anyone telling me anything had me spend a lot of days just lying on the floor, waiting. I can't even go say goodbye. A lack of graves does make that difficult, I agree. You, Oswin! I thought I'd find you here when you weren't at the house. Why were you looking for me? Did something happen? Did you want the good news or the bad news? I shrank in my spot on the ground, not wanting to answer. Well, the situation has changed, I'll say that much. He offered a hand out to me and I took it, picking myself up off the ground. Once I was standing, he quickly looked away over to a grave somewhere in the distance. I need a favor. And that's why you came out here to see me? Partially. The other reason, was I was concerned about you. Concerned is probably the wrong word. Worried is closer. But why? You lost most of your friends in the span of a few days, boy. Such loss does things to a man. Right, well, what's his favor, and why are you still wearing that lab coat? Because I haven't given up. Or maybe it's perhaps I'm willing to give it another go, but I could use the help. And Benson can't help you, or your sister? It's more complicated than that. They're also somewhat unwilling. They don't want to help you. My sister is very persuasive. While Benson was the closest thing to a father, his duties as the family butler seemed to be hard to break. He's of the mind that refusing to help will do me the most good here. As infuriating as that is, it was an idea that my sister planted in his head. So why do you need me? I'll be blunt. I succeeded in one thing and failed in another. While the chance to succeed in both has passed, I think there might be something we can do. Like what? Do you feel like rebelling a little? If the police won't help, maybe there are other avenues we can try. But I like following the rules. They're meant to keep us safe. They're meant to be fair. That's when everyone follows the rules. If someone doesn't, well, it's hardly fair if those rules aren't enforced, is it? I guess so, but what are we rebelling over? Life. It won't be the first time I rebelled and won't be the last. Not today. You're talking about the medical trial. His smile faded fast, looking me over. I wasn't, but that's yet another example. Then what were you talking about? He tapped the ring grafted to his right tusk thoughtfully. It's an old belief that a man gets adornments they should be worn on the left side lest they be branded a queer. A belief that my father drilled into myself and my older brother multiple times during our childhood. Why is this important? Reginald got his on his left tusk, in line with what our father wished, me on the right. Not that I'm queer, mind you, but I did not like how my father seemed intent to push questionable ideals onto us. But if you're not gay, then why the tusk ring thing? Like I said, it was an act of defiance. Truth be told, I don't have an interest in the slightest, and it was just an easy way to get under his skin. Couldn't he have just told you to remove it or get it redone or something? He tried, but that's where Benson intervened. Mother to a lesser extent. But father's attention soon turned to grooming Reginald as the heir to the family, so it didn't matter. I threw my hands up. So what? I meant to get my teeth all fancy and then help you with some rebellion? Are you not interested? I'm tired, I'm sad, I just don't see the point. The point is that we need to make sure that if this whole universe reset theory has any weight, that we don't end up here a second time repeating this conversation. And we do that by stopping that massacre that set off this chain of events is a good start. So the favor I'd ask of you is helping me find a way we can do just that. With the time machine. He huffed, adjusting his glasses. There's no changing the past, Dave. We can only change the future. He offered out his hand to shake, looking at me curiously. What say you, Mr. Halloway? I took his hand, shaking it. I didn't know what he had planned or what exactly I could do to help, but there was no one else left. I felt responsible as the last one alive to try and do something to help my friends. If not here, then in some other way and place. Then in some other time and place. As much of a taint that it carried, it was hope. And it was all that I had left. Ah, shit! No. Do we want to go ahead and run through, Path E? Because we can do that, like, right now. Or we can do it tomorrow. I'll let you all decide. Alrighty, we'll do it tomorrow. Oh, wait, no, Damien's saying we could. You wouldn't mind going through it? Well, Amethyst, if you want to head out, that's totally okay. Let me scoot in. We're gonna run through it, so we'll finish, Orlando's route. And then we can start working on Roswell's. So we're gonna jump right back into, Path E this time. Path E! Woo! I hesitated. A sudden flash of my dad crossing my mind. Was this the right thing to do? Was this what he would have done if it meant keeping me safe? Sal looked at me, waiting. He wasn't putting up a fight, and if I wanted to, it'd be done. We're no longer friends. We stopped being friends the moment you killed Dean and made it worse by killing Roswell, too. I glared at him as hard as I could and wished I'd brought something with me after all. Met up with Tyson to see if he'd found a weapon of some kind. I hate you. Oh, I don't like this. I don't like this. The growling had returned. My teeth were clenched, and my fists soon to follow. Couldn't bring myself to yell. Instead, the voice that came out of my mouth was barely recognizable as my own. You'd be better off dead. I understand. I stood there for a moment, wondering what happened next. With no weapon, killing him was going to be difficult. Dave, all things considered, I don't think you'll be able to kill me. I shot him a look, but I let him continue. But don't worry, I'll handle it. Why should I trust you? As it stands, I'd probably go to jail. If you killed me, then you'd be going to jail instead. So, don't worry about it. I'll handle it myself. It didn't sink in at first, but it dawned on me, causing me to take a step back. All I could do was nod, turning away. Was this really alright? It didn't matter. What had been said had been said. When I left the pool, I looked towards the mansion. No one outside as far as I could see, and I hesitated heading back inside. But no matter how I looked at it, I couldn't avoid it forever. Ooh, I don't like that. Liar, you did something to him, didn't you? I did nothing. I flashed in my hands, accompanied by an annoyed if sarcastic smile. See? Hands are clean. He's fine, Orlando. He's fine. I'm fine. We're all just damn fine. You make it really hard to cope, Dave. I thought I could depend on you through this, but now you're just acting like a jerk. Sorry. I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. I kept quiet, not wanting to say what had happened at the pool. If everything went as Sal said it would, then he wasn't a problem anymore. Dave is an asshole. I don't like this. Looking out the window at the backyard, I wondered what had happened with Sal while I was asleep. If anyone had spoken to him after I did. Thought made my stomach flip and I backed off, now wondering if I had let my anger get to me. Hang on. Gotta make sure path change. No, it says we're still on path C. I looked up and saw Oswald entering the foyer from the direction of the basement. We locked eyes, not saying anything to one another at first. He wandered over to the door towards the backyard, shooting me a quick look. I'm going to go check on your friend. My eyes widened as his hands went to the door, opening it while keeping his eyes on me. Did you want to come? Two of us stepped out into the morning air. It was chilly and fresh, or mostly fresh anyway. What's wrong? I don't know, the air smells funny. I looked at him as he breathed in deep through his nose. Perhaps it's been too long holed up in the dustier parts of the house. I can't smell anything immediately amiss. Granted, the smell of blood is something still lingering in the foyer. I nodded slowly, looking around the grounds. Last place I remembered seeing Sal was the pool. I felt bad about what I'd said the day before. Do you think it's possible to forgive someone? Potentially. I question this very thing now and again, wondering if the parents of those poor children forgive my failure to save the ones I was meant to. Or perhaps the lack of forgiveness is a punishment for my arrogance, and I should wear that as part of who I am. I see. Dave, I don't fault you for wanting to hold what happened against Sal. Any reasonable person would. I do, however, believe that it's not worth forcing yourself to forgive him if you don't not want to. Across to the pool, I wondered if that's where Sal was. The place fenced off and partially obscured with greenery felt almost like a cage for a prisoner. I'm going to go check on him, as he's still among the living, and regardless of what he's done, a doctor gives care to those that need it where they can. Not that I'm a good example of that, mind you. He started ahead of me, and I watched as he wandered towards the pool with his hands in his pockets. I drummed my hands on the railing surrounding the back deck before heading off to join him. Noticed Oswald stop shy of the gate heading in, hand on the latch and staring at something. Turned quickly to me as I approached, his face grim. There was a sense of sorrow in his face as he unlatched the gate and wandered in. As I lagged behind, the smell of chlorine grew stronger, and with it that taint in the air from earlier. When I stepped inside, I was greeted to a pool of red. Oh, shit! I fell to my knees beside the pool at a loss of what to say. A sea of red with Sal floating limply face down on the surface. Damn. Damn? That all either of us could say? My eyes were
has been discovered.
My eyes were trained on Sal or his body, wondering what could have happened, why it happened this way, or even when. I felt sick, wondering if what I'd told him the day before had been the tipping point, and that he'd only done himself what I couldn't. Dave. His voice was almost unrecognizable from how much I wasn't paying attention. I'd done this. This was my fault. Dave, move away from the water. But I didn't. I remained there on my knees, staring at Sal, wondering if it was still real. Is he dead? I didn't reply, scared of what he'd say despite the evidence sitting right in front of me. He's gone, Dave. The blood is telling enough. Right. I wore a crooked smile, struggling to process what had happened on top of everything from the past couple of days. I chuckled, pained and desperate, but my body wouldn't move on its own until I was snickering and giggling to myself from my anxiety going into overload. Oswald dragged me by the collar and propped me up against the fence to be as far away from the water as possible. With his body in the way of anything else behind him, my laughter died down into an anguished whine while I rocked back and forth, hugging my knees. Dave, listen to me. You have to remain calm. You have to focus. Focus? Once again, the smile returned, as almost as if I'd forgotten how I should be reacting to something like this. Focus on what? Sal's dead. He's dead. Bringing the body count up to 3. I don't want you having a heart attack over something that isn't your fault, Dave. I jumped to my feet, clinging to his coat. But it is my fault. I told him I wanted dead, and I was so mad, and now he's... Pounding on Oswin's front, I tried to vent what I was feeling in a fit of anger, trying to figure out where to direct what I was feeling, but instead I just broke down again, whining out against his front with my face contorted in pain. Carefully, he wrapped his arms around me, and once he held me close, he squeezed. Not too hard, but hard enough that it was uncomfortable, as if he didn't know how to hug. Come on, there's nothing we can do now except head inside. Oh, shit. He remained as a shield against me, looking to Sal floating there. We made our way back into the house through the foyer while I whined, and he held to me tight. I was pushed into a stool while he wandered over to the coffee machine, getting it going. I hadn't seen Benson, Haas, Orlando, or even Tyson yet. What do we do? Ideally, survive. Sal's passing creates some problems, solves others. I stood suddenly as Oswin turned to me with 2 mugs of coffee, jaw clenched. What problems does it solve? He's dead. He remained motionless, looking at me with the same expression he wore most of the time. Tired, maybe bored, or maybe it was just clinical. Benson, what is your take on this? I spun around and saw Benson standing in the doorway to the kitchen behind me. On what, sir? Mr. Warden is dead. Excuse me? The pool, and... Do we know the assailant? I wasn't at liberty to perform an autopsy in front of the boy, Benson. Dave, are you alright, my boy? No, why would I be okay? Sal's dead! Oswin set a mug of coffee down on the counter in front of me, and no sooner had I registered it was there, I knocked it violently to the floor, the mug shattering and its contents spilling on the floor. Now that's not very nice. Oswin Hammond, so help me, I shall bend you over my knee for your callousness. What the fuck? What the fuck? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What? Oh my god. I shouldn't be laughing because Sal is dead, but like that right there just spanks Amethyst. What? My boy, I'm sorry for your loss. Is there anything I can do? I was blindsided by the question. Finding myself sitting down again. I don't know. Likely the shock isn't helping. The others will need to be informed too, naturally. Indeed, although it isn't going to be easy breaking it to the others. I'll do it. Are you sure, my boy? I wouldn't wish any undue stress given the amount you're already facing. Sal was... I didn't know which word best described it. I was going to say friend, but for the most part it didn't feel right. Not after what I said to him. Not after what we just discovered at the pool. It was as if I didn't feel worthy to use the title anymore. Dave, you needn't do that. I'd be more than willing to bear this for you. I'm also willing to deliver the bad news. I've had enough practice by this point that being painted the bad guy is likely to be the other course of action. No, this is my fault. After what I told him yesterday. What did you tell him yesterday? I couldn't forgive him for what he did to Dean and Roswell, so I... Benson held up a hand and I took the excuse to stop talking. He briefly shook his head, sighing out. What's done is done. There's no point in dwelling on it further. I waited in the dining room while Benson went and rounded up the others. Oswin said that he was going to back out to the pool. That I was going to go back out to the pool to figure out exactly what had happened, plus do something about the body. We were still trapped here until we could find a way off the mountain, and my heart sank upon remembering that Tyson was keen to drag me off regardless. So what if I had a knife? So what? You're nuts. It's bad enough that we have Sal to worry about, and now you go pulling this shit? Rose suddenly slamming the table and brushing off Tyson's hand as it came to try and push me back down in my seat. Sal's dead! What? Sal, Tyson huffed, crossing his arms and looking off somewhere. Good riddance. I don't believe you. He can't be dead. I'm afraid so. Hiya. Oswin stepped into the dining room, Orlando and Haas stepping back to give him some space. He's not dead! Given I just performed something of an autopsy on him, believe me that I can confirm his passing. If you'd like to see the blood-stained coat I was wearing moments prior before changing his proof, I can provide it. How did he die? Who killed him? There's no easy way to put this, but the wounds on his body and a knife I found at the scene, they were self-inflicted. Again, my heart sank as the words I'd said to Sal last were very much to the effect where I wanted him dead. Even then, he offered to bear that burden for me, and it looked like he did. Orlando was a mess, shaking his head despite the tears already welling up. He repeated the word no over and over to himself, as if trying to wake up from a nightmare he'd just discovered he was in. Additionally, I ran some tests on his blood. It didn't take long, as I had my suspicions of what to look for. His immune system is quite interesting. Why does that matter now? He's dead! And? Orlando looked to Oswin like he was a monster. Oswin looked for the most part bored, but it was hard to say just how much of it was a brave front. The reason why this matters is because in his death we can know two forms of peace. The first is that any worry that Sal will pose a threat to those of us remaining was dealt with by Sal himself. And the second? I was partially stunned, not really believing that Oswin would be so callous upon delivering this news this bad. Second is that what happened a few nights ago was not Sal's fault, in part due to this. He set down a pill bottle on the table, scratching his chin. I'd had my suspicions, but this was Dean's. I'd found it in his room in any case. But what is it? The label, and as its contents as I've tested, is a compound known as sodium emobarbital. A very choice treatment for insomnia despite the side effects, such as, given Sal's unique immune system, his brow furrowed suddenly as if he'd had an epiphany. No wonder that blood work was familiar. Blast, there goes another bit of data I'll never get back. With a sigh, he stroked his beard, shaking his head. In any case, the hypnotic side effects of the drug would have been amplified. Chances are he'd not even known what he was doing until he'd become lucid again. Tyson, who had been quiet for a while, huffed. So what doesn't change the fact that he killed two people? A matter of perspective, but I suppose there was merit in thinking that way. But why would he have killed anyone if he was hypnotized? As if on cue, Benson strode into the dining room, hands clasped behind his back. You remember our chat a few days ago, Dave? The power of suggestion is a powerful one. That means someone here told Sal to... Hang on, I'm checking something, how far along we are in Path E. If it's more than one day, then we're leaving off tonight. Hang on. Here. I'm going to sort by name, make my life a little bit easier. 2021, E. Yeah, I doubt it ends on this day as well, but I'm still checking. And it does not say. So we'll finish off this day and then we'll leave off. Everyone in the room swapped looks with one another, now tense again. What good news had been delivered was now overshadowed by the fact that someone had told Sal to kill two people. Potentially someone in this room. Though, he's dead. Sal's dead. I'm afraid so. Okay, I see. Orlando slumped, dragging his feet to the kitchen in a daze. Hoss followed soon after. Thanatos? I think it's too soon to immediately come to that conclusion for what it's worth. I suppose it is possible that the one pulling the strings is dead now, but... Does it fucking matter? Tyson gripped my shoulder, digging in enough that it was borderline painful. Not taking any chance. Dave and I are out of here.
Sounds like manipulation to me.
With the road the way it is, we're going through the woods. I can't say that's very smart. Well, it doesn't fucking matter. I'm taking Dave and we're getting out of here. Oswald and Benson looked to one another quickly, almost sharing a whole conversation with a look. Do you need supplies? Batteries, maybe? We're fine. I swiped some batteries from upstairs already. Between the two of them, it was odd seeing Benson fuming while silent, with Oswald being so amused next to him. Resourceful. I'll take it to have the rest of it thoroughly handled. Sir, you can't be seriously entertaining this idea. They're not prisoners. If they wish to leave, then they're allowed to. Would you mind checking on the others? I'd like to have my morning coffee, and I don't think they'd have the foresight to get it running. Benson strode down the room towards us and into the kitchen, glancing at me briefly as he passed. But for Oswald, his smile faded when Benson was out of view, shaking his head. I must say, though, while I understand your want to get off this mountain, you're doing very little to keep people on side, Tyson. The fuck do you know? Truthfully, I don't, but with those that have already died, I'm not about to willingly let that number increase if I have any say in the matter. We don't need your help. Oswald wandered down the length of the room towards us, hands calmly in his pockets as he came to stop before me. Dave, if you feel the need to come back here at any point, you may freely do so, regardless of what may happen. With his final piece said, he disappeared into the kitchen, out of sight to leave me and Tyson alone. Okay. And no one leaves. Oh, this bitch. I'd maybe get to see Sal again to apologize for what I said, although this was fitting punishment for what I did to him. It says we're still on Path C. Fuck. Well, anyways, we're gonna leave off here tonight. How many paths are there? See, I know there'll be a fucking Path H. Anyways, we're almost done with Orlando's route. We're almost done. We only have to finish off Path E, assuming that this is Path E. Anyways, stay safe, have a good night, and I will see you all tomorrow.